Good afternoon and welcome everyone. Thank you for spending part of your day with us. I'm Edward Medor, Senior Strategic Partnerships Manager here at Workiz. And today I'm going to be your moderator. And I'm excited to be joined by my special guest featured presenter, Eddie Childs, because two Eds are better than one. VP of Growth Marketing at Mediagistic. Eddie, you're working directly with some of the most advanced HVAC dealer networks in the country. And I really admire, your expertise and the knowledge that you bring to the table here today, which is one of the reasons why I invited you, because I think you've got a pretty good pulse on what's shifting in the market as we head into 2026. And so today we're going to be breaking down how AI, everybody's favorite hot button, like the coolest thing in technology, how AI, your field service management platform, your CRM, if you have one, if you don't, hopefully it'll be Workiz by the end of today's call, and your marketing engine, how AI, your FSM, and your marketing engine can finally work together, creating the continuity contractors need to drive more replacement opportunities and revenue. So we're going to try to keep this tight. We don't desire to put you to sleep with lengthy PowerPoint presentations. That's always been one of my mantras. So we'll try to keep it to about 35 minutes, and then we'll wrap with live Q&A. So Eddie, without further ado, let's kick things off. What are you seeing across the industry right now?
Thanks, Ed. Yeah, I think we're seeing a lot of different things happening. The first thing would be the ubiquity of AI as it's kind of moving into the space and transforming a lot of different areas of the marketing, technology, sales, and operations. So we'll dig into that. We'll dig into a few things that are happening in the industry. So in terms of, we'll talk a little bit about the state of the industry going into 2026, which is right around the corner. We'll dig a little bit into how AI and field service management data can be used together to spot replacement opportunities, and then how those can be flexed out into your marketing motions in order to create better value and growth for an HVAC contractor brand. We'll talk a little bit about operational continuity and sort of like show everybody a model of sort of what that looks like as kind of when you bake it into the core of your HVAC contracting business, and how you can create a predictable growth engine around that, right? Then we'll hand it off to Ed. He's going to talk a little bit about Workiz in general, the Genius AI answering, and then some other cool data capture features that are baked in the Workiz that we feel are pretty valuable for this whole like AI and kind of data ecosystem that we're about to describe to you. Ed's going to touch on some practical AI tools with, I'll add a little color there, and then we'll go through a partnership spotlight, final takeaways, and then open it up to a Q&A for you guys. And like we said, we're shooting for about 35 minutes here before we get to the Q&A. So first things first, let's set the stage a little bit about what the HVAC and home services industry sort of looks like right now and what you all are experiencing. Demand signals have really shifted a lot, and consumer needs have not, right? So that's a big thing to understand, is that the consumer's needs really haven't changed. It's just the way demand is happening in the industry has changed a lot. So understanding that gap is really key to unlocking more installation revenues we're gonna describe to you. But it's also, I think it's gonna make a strong case for why we need to start looking at how do we automate, how do we build AI into our workflows, how do we operationalize our business, say across sales, marketing, operations, how do we pull that together into a continuous sort of system to drive growth, right? So first things first, we're entering a period where consumer confidence has really been down, right? New system shipments are declining. High interest rates are pushing homeowners into repair first behavior. We'll come back to that, but that's a big shift in behavior we've seen, during the pandemic. Lots and lots of new systems, lots of direct hey, come out to my house and give me an estimate for an install kind of leads. People are in their homes. It's different now. It's really changed. Tariffs are kind of increasing equipment costs. And then there's also rebate uncertainty in the market, right? That's stalling out buyers, a little bit of uncertainty happening out there around energy rebates. But again, so it's no, and then we also have A2Ls coming in the market and all that. But so it's no real surprise that replacement feels softer for everybody. I've seen some outlooks that's not going to last much longer. So, good news, everybody. But in the meantime, demand has not disappeared, right? I think that's the point I want to make here. It's harder to capture. And so demand's been tightening, buyers are hesitating, and the residential HVAC contractors who are really thriving in this environment right now are the ones who are creating real operational efficiencies across all the areas of their business. And they're using AI in particular to capture, convert, and recapture every opportunity and keep them engaged in their ecosystem, drive more customer lifetime value, et cetera. So, okay, AI itself is tightening the relation. So on top of all this other stuff, it's important to understand that AI itself is tightening the interrelation between operations, marketing, and sales, right? As it becomes more kind of viable to automate things using AI, we're seeing that those areas are not operating in silos the same way that they were, and AI activated flows are now starting to connect every customer moment in a way that they just haven't been available to do before. So 91%, I guess I'm going to call out one stat on this slide for everybody to understand. 91% of the leading companies out there, they're investing in AI to maintain a competitive edge, right? So that's something to understand, that everybody is investing heavily in AI right now, and it is a building block, and I would argue a foundational technology kind of like paradigm that we need to start embracing across the industry, whether you're a contractor, a distributor, or manufacturer. However we can start to leverage this technology and use it to connect the dots, fill the gaps, and get rid of those silos. That's what's going to drive, competitive advantage from here, probably moving forward, right? And guess what? There's a $1.6 trillion global home services market at play here by 2030, which incidentally is also around the time that AI search will probably shift all the way over to, LLMs, and we'll stop. I won't say we'll stop using Google, but Google will be one in a mix of many. So it's just an interesting convergence there, right? That the global home services market's going to balloon up to 1.6 trillion. And guess what? Consumer behavior is going to shift, towards using AI just to foundationally find home services brands around the same time. So it's really interesting. At the end of the day, though, the businesses that are integrating with these systems are the ones who are leading the next wave of growth. That's really the important part to understand here.
Not to derail the conversation, but you brought up something that I wanted to ask you. If
Sure.
you have a stat on it, but I've seen where I feel like SEO is perhaps becoming a little bit more relevant than it once was before, just because of all of these, AI technologies. People are talking to, say, Chat GPT to
Mhm.
find their local
Yeah.
contractor now. Sometime in the past, you might have asked Alexa, or a lot of people, though, they would just jump on Google. Let me Google that.
Yep.
So
I do have
it
some stats
is
for you.
Chat GPT, and these AI models, are they actually reading websites and looking at their SEO in order to populate those results, or is there a workaround for that?
Well, yes and no. So yeah, before we move on, first things first, Google still owns like 90-ish% of the global search market share. So the amount of user behavior that's happening in ChatGPT, Perplexity, Google Gemini, Claude, that's a pretty small percentage right now. It's like 5 to maybe 8%. It's not massive, but the first things first, SEM Rush Meter SEO tool. They believe that they published a report recently that most search is going to shift and it will overtake traditional search that's happening in Google by as early as 2017 or 2027. And the industry at large really believes that'll happen no later than 2030. So we have this about 3-year window starting almost a full year from now, about a year and some change, where we're going to start seeing massive consumer shifts into large language model search. When I say large language model, I mean ChatGPT, Perplexity, Google Gemini, these AI tools where you can ask questions. So to the second part of your question, SEO being more relevant, yes. Why is that? Because classically over the years, Google has locked down traditional search results more and more, right? You have a lot of ads on the top. You have the Google local map pack, and then what we call traditional SEO is way down there at the bottom. And guess who owns the first result in pretty much every search for traditional SEO?
I don't know.
Yelp does. Yelp owns that first in almost every market. It'll say, top HVAC because Google's trying to be, not anti-competitive, and they're getting sued in the EU. But so what's happening is now that large language models are at play, a lot of the things that we did to optimize for SEO that were driving value in SEO, they work in a very similar way as they do for these large language models. So they do crawl websites. They do not play by the same rules as, say, Google search algorithm, right? Like Google search algorithm is patented and built very strongly around backlinks is a major signal. These tools crawl the content completely differently, but the way to optimize for it before we move on is creating high value, trusted content that's useful to the user, and then creating lots and lots of it, right? And getting your brand mentioned everywhere you can, getting it mentioned in business directories. I mean, these are things we did to optimize for Google and the local map pack anyway, but my advice is optimized times 10, like you were optimizing for those search engines. And guess what? Like, you're probably going to be optimized short term for GEO, which is generative engine optimization. So not to get too technical there, but yeah, does that kind of answer your question, Ed?
It does. Thank you for breaking that down.
Yep. So, okay. Bringing things back to what we're talking about. So everybody, the SEO stuff, the GEO stuff, very valuable. It's a big, big transformation that's happening. It's also driving search demand here. What we're talking about here, though, is kind of, we're looking at what data do you have and how can you get more of it, right? And how can you spot those opportunities within your own data using AI? Because like I said, AI is ubiquitous. It's pretty much everywhere right now. It's in our search engines, it's in our phones, it's everywhere, but it's also available as a tool to understand the taxonomy of our own data. So what we're going to talk about now is using AI and field service management data to spot replacement opportunities, right? Like what are those opportunities within your own database that can do that? And before we talk too much about that, first party data is your most valuable owned asset as a business, hands down, because it comes directly from your customers and your systems. Third party data is just not as valuable. But I'm gonna say pretty definitively here that in almost every case, every contractor I've ever talked to, their database is underutilized. If I was in a room with you all right now, I'd ask for a show of hands and say, who right now feels they're using their customer list and their database to its fullest potential? I have asked this, Ed. I asked this at our master class last week. Did you see a single hand get raised? No. I didn't. Nobody raised their hand, and I ask that question all the time. So this is why this is important. When we talk about first party data, this is your customer data. These are the people you've already serviced. You've already won their business. You've already gotten permission to talk to them. And owned audiences, they consistently outperform paid audiences. Now, don't go turn off all your paid ads and just focus on your own stuff, because that's not going to get you where you need to go from a growth standpoint, right? But you got to take advantage of these audiences, right? And so again, when we're talking about first party data, it is your most valuable asset as a business. It comes directly from those customers. Second party data comes from like partners and prospects and things like that. You can share them back and forth. And then third party data would be stuff that you like buy through a broker. this stuff's valuable, but it's not nearly as valuable as the ones who are engaged and have done business with you before, right?
Right.
So owning and structuring your own data is the foundation for creating predictive AI replacement, AI driven replacement marketing. So this is like the number one thing that we need to focus on in the course of this is taking that data and turning it into something that you can action. So this is a little bit of a model to look at, right? So this is where we're talking about activate. So you have your data, it's first party data. This is the key to, unlocking that data activated proactive marketing. So when your FSM data is structured, so when we say FSM, field service management, that's technology. In other areas it's called CRM, but with the FSM we have other technologies like dispatch technologies, et cetera, that are custom made for the home services environment. But when it is structured, new marketing opportunities immediately unlock, right? So having structured data allows you to map key customer moments like expiring warranties, high repair spend, aging systems, SA renewals, maintenance contract renewals, et cetera, et cetera. This lets you shift from reactive marketing, right? Which I think we all understand. Like fundamentally, we understand reactive marketing, if not in principle, right? So when I say reactive marketing, I'm talking about customers' air conditioner breaks or whatever, their heater breaks. They experience a moment of distress. They experience a time of need, which makes this industry so different, right? That time of need when the customer is in a distress mindset. They pick up the phone and they call every provider they can to come out and fix their air conditioner, right? And so that's important. That is a huge piece. That is a massive driver of new business in this industry, right? And replacement opportunities. That's the number one driver. Somebody is in a distressed purchasing mindset. They go to Google, they go air conditioning contractor near me, they call everybody that they can. Maybe they call the provider they've worked with in the past, but if he doesn't pick up, they call everybody else. That's reactive marketing, right? Like you are in it, they're reactive, you're picking up the phone, you're trying to get somebody out there, you're trying to roll a truck. That's reactive marketing. Proactive marketing is different. Predictive marketing is just a play on proactive marketing. So what we can do when we get control of our customer data, right? We map those customer moments. We're able to identify, okay, who has an aging system that's eligible for a change out, right? Who has an expiring warranty, who has high repair spend. If we're able to get at that data, understand those moments, and then align marketing motions around that using SMS, email, ringless bypass, voicemail, even like direct sales outreach, you're going to get more results, right? Because you are looking ahead, you're looking at the data you have, you're identifying those customers who are likely to need your services and need a change out, and you're getting in front of them before they're actually in that time of need. And guess what? When you're able to do that, you're not competing with other providers the way that you are when somebody goes, oh, my air conditioner broke and I need to find an air conditioning contractor near me. And they go into Google and they search air conditioning contractor near me, and like 40 different air conditioning contractors pop up. You got out in front of them beforehand and you said, hey, noticed your air conditioner is around 12 to 15 years old, and or you've had high repair costs recently. How about we come out and take a look at it? So that's why this is important, because this gives you new opportunities that you did not have before. And time again, the businesses are able to do this. You're able to spot these opportunities and align marketing and sales activities around it. They dramatically increase their ROI because every touch point is relevant and every opportunity is being covered.
And I think one important thing to point out, just based on your last slide there, Eddie, because you and I, our lives are very similar. I spend a significant amount of time on the road, at different industry events, trade shows. I spend a lot of time in the distributor world. So if you're on today's call, whether you're a distributor or, a contractor yourself, one important thing to be thinking about is, if you yourself do not yet have a field service management software company, or maybe you're supporting a dealer and many of them, that don't, right? That needs to happen before you're going to be able to like really fine tune any of these things that, Eddie's talking about today. It's got to happen. And the one thing I remember, you were talking about the master class session that we did
Mhm.
last week together in DFW. There were quite a few business owners sitting in that room that admitted, I don't yet have field service software.
Yeah.
I can't think of a more inefficient way to be running your business. You're talking about this first party data, and you think about all of the operational silos that you're creating for yourself. You have customer information, but it's still sitting on, paper, or maybe things are just very segmented because you've got, maybe a basic invoicing platform, but you're running your payment processing through another system, and you've got your, communications platform elsewhere, and you've got another system where you're buying a few leads here and there, but you're not yet inputting those into, say, a proprietary CRM or field
Yeah.
service management platform. You have absolutely no idea where your opportunities may exist.
Yeah, and your data is sitting in separate places. I mean, time and time again, just I would say that having a CRM in this space, an FSM is just a fundamental best practice for business in 2026. And guess what? Is we get more into an AI driven era, and your data is sitting in 5 different places. It's in a spreadsheet and a dispatch board and wherever else, and it's not in a place where you can get at it and use there are all kinds of AI tools. That's a little beyond the scope of this particular webinar, like which tools to use and how to get at that data. But if it's sitting in a bunch of different places, you're going to have a hard time leveraging that data, right?
Mhm.
And even more so, like these customer moments that you see here that are mapped open at, oh, that's another one, open estimates. I mean, the number of open estimates, particularly right now, where people are going and getting second and third opinions, they're just sitting there unactivated, is a gold mine. Every contractor we've seen who align their CSRs to doing a little outbound on open estimates, or they're running email campaigns or running SMS to keep the ball moving with estimates that are not approved on site, they are able to close more sales, right? And every replacement sale in this marketplace is just it's mission critical for your business. So I could say pretty confidently it is much harder to do and run that play as a contractor and as a business owner if your data is not somewhere where you can use it and operationalize it. Um,
100%.
so that actually speaks to the next point, is operational continuity, right? I think we just described a situation where like you don't have a lot of operational continuity in the example that Ed just described. I'm going to describe one more to you here. So, the I guess before I describe it to you though, the deal here is that operational continuity is the core of predictable growth, right? So when you're marketing, your sales, your operations, when you get them all acting in sync, your ability to generate and convert replacement opportunities are going to increase massively, right? So that's like the importance of achieving operational continuity. But this is an example right here of operational continuity. There, like, again, this is beyond the scope of the webinar to talk about all the different types of operational discontinuities contractors experience. But just imagine me for a moment, if you will, right? We've got an HVAC company. They're doing reactive marketing only. So we're doing Google ads. We're getting leads from Google ads. And we're solely relying on time and need services. So we got Google ads going. We got Google local services ads. That's how we're generating new customers, paid search traffic. These are marketed leads that you're paying a premium for, right? They come in, and then the thing here is that the first responder to those leads. So like if you're able to respond to that lead immediately, you win it 78% of the time. If you don't, they bounce off to the next contractor, right? We expect this to climb to 90%. So the person who is able to respond to that lead field that lead, get in front of that homeowner as quickly as possible. They're going to win the lead 9 out of 10 times with the advent of AI. Why is that? It's because consumers are going to grow to expect this more and more, right? Because the high functioning contractors out there who are running this play, and they're getting 100% of their phone calls, they're responding to all their form fills, they're getting all their leads, they're the ones who are going to win every single time, and it's going to get more and more. So we're going to get into a situation where like the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, simply because they are able to, they have the operational continuity to respond to these leads quickly and get them into their system and roll a truck out to that house as quickly as possible, right? Your average web form lead goes cold in about 5 to 30 minutes, right? Someone fills out a form on your site, they want to talk to somebody, that lead is much harder to convert after 30 minutes have passed. It's virtually impossible. There may be some homeowners who are willing to talk to you the next day, but trust me, they're definitely calling people in the meantime. They're definitely filling out forms on other contractor sites. So that's another thing. So that's a Harvard review study. I've seen that functionally in my time as a marketer. I've been doing this for upwards of 14 years at Mediagistic.
I can back that one up too, because I don't personally analyze contractor websites as often as you and your team do, but I look at enough of them each and every month, and I can't tell you how many times I see a contact form where the business owner doesn't even know where those contacts are going. They're like, oh well, that's an email account that we don't really have set up anymore. So
And
you're
then
just
go to a dead inbox or something, right?
dead inbox, maybe a former employee that doesn't even work there anymore, and that's bad. That's
Yeah.
you're leaving money on the table for
And what's
sure.
even worse, your ability to actually convert that lead into a booked appointment and revenue, it drops by 50% in the first minute, and then by 50% of that 50% every minute thereafter. So it just goes down and down and down and down to you're like in single digit percentages. So all of that is to say, these are industry wide stats, but 28% of all inbound phone calls go unanswered in the home services industry. 28% on average. That's 1/3 of all phone calls. And then on average, that comes out to about $25,000 per month of missed revenue, which again, if we're talking about replacement opportunities, we're talking about how the market's soft right now. That's nearly $300,000 per contractor on average that's getting missed simply because the phones aren't getting answered. So this is what we're talking about when we say this is an example of operational discontinuities, right? Where we did marketing, sales, and operation, we're not all operating from the same playbook here. Leads are getting generated, they're not getting fielded or whatever. And that's not great, right? And what's worse is in this example, right, that contractor is actually paying for those leads in addition to missing this revenue. So not only are we getting hit on the front end because we're losing out on roughly, on average, that's 300,000. Some contractors are missing out on a lot more based on their lead
Oh
volume.
yeah.
So on average, we're missing out on $300,000 worth of revenue per year. But then we're also spending money to get those phone calls. So we're losing whatever we're spending on those phone calls. So it's kind of a vicious cycle. And it's what we're talking about. We're talking about operational discontinuity, and that's what it looks like. So
Or if you're an individual owner operator, because I talk to these guys all the time, smaller teams, by myself, or maybe I've only wrapped my second truck, and I'm coming to you, Eddie, saying, "Well, I don't advertise at all," but you did kind of. You built a brand, you put yourself out there, you got a lot of customer referrals, and you're not answering calls, and these folks are calling someone else.
Yep.
So I would almost lean towards the side of 25,000 on average. That's probably for the smaller company, because to your point, Eddie, if you're a lot bigger and your brand is much more established, then you're probably missing out on a lot more than that.
Yeah, I mean it's all over the place when you really look at it. It's
Yeah.
all about like a mean. So there are some on the high end that are probably
Yeah.
missing out on millions,
But I think it's a good point though. Like when we hear contractors say like, oh, well, I can't necessarily afford a field service management software platform. I always think, no, you kind of can't afford not to have one
Yeah.
because you're missing calls, you're leaving money on the table, you have all of this, operational disconnect, things are just disconnected. And
Yeah.
again, I love it,
Yeah.
so building operational continuity.
Yep. So this one, so a true AI connected business that uses AI automation, et cetera, it's built to move customers smoothly from lead to call to job to follow up to recapture, right? So everyone's operating from the same data. Jobs are getting scheduled based on real-time signals. Communication is consistent, and this with things like AI dispatching, AI CSR, agentic AI, when you're kind of like using AI to connect these systems, know your data, et cetera, you're going to eliminate the gaps where the revenue is typically lost. So if I can direct everybody's attention to the flywheel here on the right hand side of the screen, it's going to walk through the steps. So it's step one. This is what I tell every contractor: take control over your customer data, right? Identify those high value segments, those customer moments we talked about. Shift from reactive to proactive marketing and start taking advantage of those data points, those customer moments. But then also market maintenance plans and tune-ups. I'll tell you why that's important in a minute. I've got a whole slide on that, so we'll come back to that in a second. Optimize for speed to lead, which is the discontinuity we just covered in that last slide. And then there are dispatch to sales and predictive scheduling pieces you can put into place to roll your trucks more efficiently, right? Because you're kind of putting all this stuff in place, you're going to have more replacement opportunities, you're going to have more maintenance contracts, and more tune-ups. You're going to have to operationally be able to fulfill all of this stuff. So having the dispatch, sales, predictive scheduling, all that stuff in place, it's going to prevent you from going back to your marketing company and being like, turn the marketing off, I can't handle all the leads, which is a good problem to have. But the idea is you can handle the throughput because you're more efficiently rolling your trucks and operationalizing your business, right? So why maintenance and tune-ups? And this is an important question because we were just talking, you came to this this webinar because you're like, I want replacement opportunities, right? There's the whole idea is AI FSM replacement opportunities. How does this fit into the puzzle? So what we're talking about here is a continuous growth engine, right? So that's what we just basically looked at in this flywheel. This keeps going, right? Just imagine that just continuing to go, right? We get more and more and more. We build up more momentum, and we build up our business. Maintenance and tune-ups fit into this because basically we're creating marketing motions that prioritize these things. We're prioritizing maintenance and tune-ups to give you year-round demand, right? We're like, as you can see in this chart, maintenance and tune-ups definitely allow you to smooth out those shoulder seasons where we don't have as much just raw like installation demand, right? So that's important because that's just creating good foundational baseline for your business. But even more important, right? Every maintenance customer is a future replacement customer. So what are we doing now? We're talking about a continuous growth engine. We're creating pipeline for future replacement opportunities, right? And then on top of that, we're building out our data, right? We're building out our first party data because the more people we have on maintenance plans, the more of these tune-ups we've done. Guess what? We're talking about mapping those key customer moments with the agent system, et cetera, where we can kind of determine, hey, look, this person is ripe for a replacement because they've had so many repairs and their system is so old, right? Well, how you get that data? This is how you acquire it. You get people into your system, you get them engaged with your brand, you keep them engaged with your brand, and you use this data capture in a really smart way to continue to drive these opportunities. And so, I'm going to hand it to Ed because Workiz has some pretty cool features to capture that data, and then also he has some tools that he's going to demo in terms of how that smooths out some of those operational discontinuities we just described. Ed.
Awesome. Yes, thank you. So I could probably show you at least half a dozen different Workies features right now that really lean into AI. But one thing that I wanted to touch on, because Eddie, you've mentioned it, several times now, is the difference between being proactive versus reactive, right? And so when we look at all these different AI technologies right now, something that I want to talk about and show you is agentic AI. A perfect example of agentic AI is Workies Genius Answering, or as many of our customers are calling her, Jessica. Jessica
Wait,
can, by the
Ed,
way, yeah.
before you move into the agentic AI, could you talk really quickly about this data capture that we're looking at right here?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm
Sorry,
sorry.
I, I,
Let's touch
I
on
was
this
kind of
slide.
fast about that handoff.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. No
Yeah, sorry, we were
problem.
talking about those key customer moments, the tune-ups, the maintenance visits, and how capturing that data creates more better data and how using those tools can do that. So sorry, can we talk about that just real quick and then move?
Yeah, no problem, because this is something that our agentic AI models are going to be able to further expand upon as well. But we'll hold off on that demo for just a moment. So the data capture side, I mean, this is amazing. Whether you're using Workiz or not, please promise me that you have a field service management software platform. And if you don't, you're going to get one, even if it's not Workiz. But we have an amazing feature built within each individual customer profile so that when you're out there in the field, maybe you are on a reactive call, okay? You should be collecting all of this first party data so that you can use it at a later time in the year to be able to drive more business for your company. Many contractors, especially in the HVAC community, are going gangbusters during peak cooling season. And you're out there, you're running service calls, you're quoting new systems, but sometimes you're neglecting to collect a lot of this data that could be very meaningful for you at a later period of time. You're not trying to sell service plans, maybe because you haven't bought into them or your employees haven't bought into them, but there are all these things that you could be doing that would help you fill your calendar year round. So with data capture, something as simple as being able to use the Workies equipment profile, I'm going to be able to capture, first party equipment data, whether I'm installing the system or I'm just out on a service
Servicing it,
call.
yeah.
Pull in the model number, the system age, warranty date. So the OEM, the manufacturer's warranty, maybe I've sold an extended warranty plan on there. I need to be able to track all of this. I can take a picture of the serial nameplate. I can identify where that equipment is installed on the property, because maybe you're doing some commercial work, or you're working with a property management group where there's multiple addresses all under that master account. Workies can easily keep track of all of that for you. Now, the gold here is the fact that you're going to be able to use this at a later time, as I mentioned, to be able to identify aging, inefficient, or at-risk systems, and then be
Right.
able to trigger proactive demand gen campaigns based on that data. You could also be collecting data in the field around, which one of my customers have embraced indoor air quality, which have not, who
Yeah.
actually has implemented smart technology around, thermostats, right? That could be an opportunity for me to roll a truck in the future, because I successfully sold Eddie one of my comfort club plans, and now I'm going out to his house. I earned the right to go to his house several times a year just to change his air filters. But I know, based on data I've collected in the past, that Eddie doesn't have smart home technology. I want to offload some of these old second generation Nest thermostats that I might have like sitting in inventory, right? Or maybe I just signed up and I'm working with Ecobee now, and like I want to start promoting that. Whatever the case might be, you need to be using all of this first party data to be able to create yourself these upsell paths that you can implement at later times in the year. So it's
Yeah.
all about streamlining. It's all about collecting this data. And at Workies, we have one mantra that we love to, tout, and that's, we want to be able to help you automate everything but the wrench, because we're not going to go out there and turn the wrench for you, but we can definitely help you control that data and really make operational efficiencies start to truly be realized.
Yeah. And speaking from a marketing perspective, whether you whatever tool you're using, I think the ability to capture this data is key, right? Because otherwise there's nothing wrong with Google ads. There's nothing wrong with even SEO and things like that, right? They are there to drive business. Like, you have those things in place to drive business, and that's from those time and need customers, right? The ones who are already in a distressed purchasing decision. But if we're talking about adding in another marketing layer, another source of lead gen, revenue, sales pipeline, without this data, it's very hard to create that pipeline, right? You're essentially flying blind. So knowing this information about your customer systems and being able to capture it in a database and then action that data is essentially what we're talking about here. And then using AI in a smart way to sort of like activate the data is really kind of the key play. But the foundational thing to do here is just build up your database and capture that data so you can activate it, right, Ed? So
For sure.
moving on, we're gonna go ahead and hand it to you so you can talk about the Genius AI and talk about that operational discontinuity in particular that we were talking about. So I don't know if you want to grab the screen and do a demo at this point, or
Yeah, absolutely. So again, talking about agentic AI, and her name's Jessica. That was her first name. Now we've got Mike and Steve and Bill, and you can make her more upbeat, sound a little bit more boring, whatever you want to do. Like, she's fully customizable. She. But Jessica's agentic AI. Jessica can answer the phone like a human, qualify the caller, look up their history, check your schedule, book the job, gather the right details, create the work order, and route it to the right technician, all without lifting a human finger. That is agentic AI in real life, an AI that can perceive what's happening, plan the next step, and take action on your behalf. Because there's a lot of AI tools today. These are popping up all over the place. I talk to customers that have very segmented and siloed operational systems. They've got all these point solutions that are working in tandem to try to accomplish the same results. And when you have one system that's separate for payment processing, your phone system, your reviews are being housed elsewhere, just it's all disconnected, and it makes getting all of that data working cohesively a lot more difficult. So I'm going to switch over. I'm not going to go through like the entire call, but I'm going to share with you just a brief presentation on Jessica. And so you can see I'm in my Workiz account here. Eddie, you can see that? Just give me a yep.
Yes, sir.
All right, excellent. And I'm going to just grab a call here at random. And we'll play a little snippet or two for you. By the way, with our phone system, we provide full call transcripts. We can analyze the call, whether it be AI that's answering the call or one of your own dispatchers. We can always provide you summaries and then full detailed transcripts of that call. And then even more beautiful, you can take that call, convert it into a lead, convert it into a job, add tags to it, set it for follow-up. But AI does a lot of this for you, even just in the call analysis.
Good morning, Edward. My name is Jessica. How can I make you smile today?
Whoa, how did you know it was me?
I recognized your phone number, Edward. It's great to hear from you. How can I help you today?
Well, I'm calling because the furnace won't turn on and it's really cold in the house.
Oh, no, that's not fun at all. Let's get that sorted out for you. Did this issue just start today, or has it been happening for a while?
I think it happened in the middle of the night.
That's really frustrating, especially when it's cold. We can definitely help with that. How about we send someone over to take a look? Would you like to schedule an appointment?
Yeah, do you have anything for today?
Sure.
We'll skip over here.
Before we finalize, can you confirm that your address is 112 Turkey Creek Lane, Leander, Texas?
Returning customer.
Yes, that is correct.
So she knew that.
Perfect. Just a couple more quick questions. Did you know that? I guess I do. It's just a great deal. and I wanted to make sure you knew about it. Now, one last thing. Do you like saving money? If you join our Platinum Comfort Club today, you can save 20% off your next service call. How does that sound?
Well,
So you can customize our AI to be able to script out if you have specific questions that you always ask a customer, they can always field those questions. As you can see, Eddie, I've got her set up to where she's actually quoting our service maintenance agreements for me. And Jessica, because it's agentic AI, because it's machine-based learning, she'll learn. And the more that you interact with her, the smarter that she gets. Now, someone might ask a question because these are things that are asked quite frequently, like, well, how much is that going to cost?
yeah, actually, I was wondering, do you know how much this is going to cost?
We will need to diagnose the issue with one of our master technicians. This will be covered as part of our $129 diagnostic fee. If the repair costs more, you'll only pay the difference. We believe in transparent pricing, and your trust and satisfaction are our top priorities. Anything else I can assist you with?
Yeah, do you know who's going to win the Super Bowl this year?
Well, here's the deal. I'm pretty sure you're in Cowboys country, but for those of us who really like football, the answer is clear. It's the Denver Broncos, baby. The road to the Super Bowl goes through Denver.
That's for
I
you,
mean, the
Eddie.
Cowboys haven't been relevant since when? 1995? But what do I know? I'm just your friendly AI assistant. Anything else I can help with?
I love you. Thank you very much, Jessica. You have a great day.
So Jessica's also got a little bit of a sense of humor, but this is powerful stuff right there. I mean, you were talking before about how the average business can lose, say, $25,000 a month in service calls. That one call could have been a system replacement opportunity. And in today's market, system replacement opportunities can be quite sizable. So,
Yeah.
factor in a handful of service calls here, that one system sale that you just lost out on, and it quickly adds up. But even during our master class last week, many people raised their hands to say, yes, I have missed calls today while I've been here in this class trying to learn more to better myself and improve my business. I'm missing calls. So there's absolutely no reason to not have a tool like this in place, because this is the way of the future.
Yeah. And, the use case we've seen, we've worked with a fair number of contractors who use these AI CSR solutions. Nights, weekends, when you don't have a CSR on call, holidays, that's like where we see those opportunities that they definitely wouldn't have been able to field it because they've got a guy rolling around out in the field, but he's not necessarily picking up calls. Is a replacement for the answering service. And then we've had some contractors turn it on and use their CSRs to do outbound and follow up on open estimates and things like that. So lots of interesting applications of that technology for sure. So moving on, we have one final section here for you. We're going to walk through practical tools that you can start using immediately. And we're going to highlight then how the Mediagistic and Workiz partnership helps to create this unified growth engine that we've been talking about. So this is really where strategy can kind of meet execution. Ed, I'm going to hand it back to you really quickly so you can talk about some of these AI tools for contractors that you've seen used and maybe some of the use cases.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll be brief here. I mean, guys, this is not rocket science, okay? Although it can be a little overwhelming at first when you start dabbling in AI. You're like, oh my gosh, I barely knew how to turn on my computer, let alone be thinking about AI. But the reality is, guys, it's not going anywhere. So I would definitely recommend taking baby steps. There's a lot of great videos on YouTube. I mean, you've got resources with Eddie and I. But if I was going to give you a homework assignment today, if you're new to AI, I would say just start checking out some of the basic tools like ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini. You pick your flavor, okay? most contractors are struggling today with hiring, and AI can fix that. So you could go into, say, Chat GPT and write a job ad for a residential HVAC service technician at a small company, make it friendly, professional, include a list of required skills, preferred experience, and benefits. What will the results be there? A polished ad that you could use on Indeed, Facebook, ZipRecruiter, all in literally under 30 seconds. You could turn rough notes into professional customer emails. So you could say, for example, just finished tune up for a customer, turn these bullet notes into a professional email, et cetera, et cetera. Notes. 15-year-old condenser, R22, compressor noisy, coil leaking, customer thinking of selling in 3 to 5 years. Boom, it's going to compile a perfect email that you can paste within Workiz messaging if you're using us, or Gmail. And in fact, part of Workiz Genius Solutions, Genius is everything that we do that's AI. We have the ability to automate some of those messages. If you're texting a customer, AI is built in. If you're sending an email message, AI is built in. So we'll give you those suggestions. You can write a few notes and boom, we'll give you what we think would be the best thing to say. But you can also use these, third-party solutions, because everything is actually being built off of these third-party solutions, right? You can create scripts for your CSRs, your dispatchers, your technicians, write a friendly phone script for a CSR. That's all you've got to do is type that in to Chat GPT. I'll actually show you that here real quick. I love to
Keeping in mind we
show
only have
you.
8 minutes left.
And I know we've only got 8 minutes, but let me just show you how powerful this is. Boom, write a friendly phone script for a CSR. And it says, thank you for calling company name. This is Edward. How can I make your day easier? Boom. I mean, it's doing the work for me. And this is literally how many seconds, Eddie? 10, 15 at the
Very
most,
quickly.
right? And so, I mean, it's wonderful because as you continue to work with it, you can also tell it, you can give it reminders. You can say, like, I don't want you to ever reference this or that again, but it's incredibly powerful. And these are just some basic examples of how you can begin to embrace AI today. Marketing promotions, follow-ups, re-engagement, social content. You can create videos. Eddie and I had posted some things on LinkedIn and Facebook for our webinar today. I went in there and had it take an image that his marketing team had made, and we turned it into a fun little video too. So, I mean, AI is amazing. These would be my suggestions, though, if you're first just now dabbling with AI. Now let's talk about our partnership, because we've definitely gone over, thought we would have a few more minutes for Q&A. By the way, guys, in the lower right-hand corner, there's a little chat bubble. So if you've got a question that you've been wondering, we'd like to take a moment to answer that. But let's just tie this all up in a bow, Eddie, and talk about the Workiz and Mediagistic partnership. How does our partnership deliver predictable growth?
Yeah. So, I think just taking a step backwards, we've been talking all day about continuous growth engines, right? So at the end of the day, marketing is really at its strongest when it's powered by real operational inputs, right? We have that customer data, the repair history, service plans, job outcomes, customer behaviors. This feeds your marketing. And when your marketing and your operations share connected workflows, dealers like you, contractors like you, you're going to convert more leads. You're going to increase your average ticket value, and you're going to maximize customer lifetime value, right? Which is an important key phrase, right? Because it costs a lot to acquire a new customer. It costs 5 to 25 times more to get a new customer than to take an old customer and continue driving value and revenue through them, right? So we want to do this across the entire customer journey, but unless we have that data in a tool like what we're talking about, when we're running some of these plays where we're mapping those customer moments, you're only going to get new business, and you're going to always be paying that new customer acquisition cost. So that's really what we're talking about here. And this is where the partnership kind of comes to bear. And then on top of that, we do have integrations with Workiz where we can close the loop on what marketing's actually doing to drive your real sales revenue through a revenue analytics tool, right? Because leads are great. Everybody wants leads, but leads are leads. Leads are not sales, right? Sales are sales. And I think that's really, at the end of the day, we lose sight of the fact that we want to grow our business. We you know, leads are upstream from actual revenue. And I think, you know, that's what we want to be able to show the contractors we work with. We want to be able to show you your sales data as it relates to attributable, you know, kind of marketing functions, the ones that actually drive leads. We want to be able to show you that closed revenue and that integration with Workiz, which something we put in place recently. It's great, and that's a real big benefit of our partnership.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, our partnership creates a seamless flow. You know, the journey of the lead into a call to a job, the communications that are going to follow, recapturing, you know, giving you the ability to get out there and drive more replacement opportunities. I mean, Eddie and I feel like we come from the same school of thought. Again, referencing our master class last week, Eddie was talking about all these contractors that go out and they're, you know, paying these crazy prices to go out there after replacement jobs because that's what, you know, is typically going to drive the most revenue for the company. But that's expensive, you know. Focus on the repairs, focus on the opportunities that you could be creating if your data was managed better, you know. So at the end of the day, Workiz is the operational backbone. Mediagistic is the demand engine. You know, they are the subject matter experts that are really going to, you know, bring everything together for you. And together, we can help contractors build predictable growth into 2026 and beyond. So I'd like to open up for just a couple of questions here. It looks like we do have one question in the chat here. Does Workiz work with Service Fusion for the AI CSR? Unfortunately not, because Service Fusion would be a competitor to Workiz, but we would love to show you a demo of Workiz. So Eddie, thank you for sharing this screen. There's a little QR code at the bottom. I would encourage everyone, you know, scan both of these. There's an AI readiness assessment and guide that Eddie's provided a QR code there for. Also, if you'd like to see a demo of Workiz, you can scan that QR code there. But thank you for the question, Julio. And were there any other questions? Don't be bashful. Someone else might be thinking the same thing. We'll go ahead and leave the chat open for just another minute or two. But Eddie, anything else you wanted to leave the group with here today?
Yeah, I mean, I guess final thoughts. The everything we just said here today is can be pretty overwhelming, right? Like there's a lot that it takes to stand up one of these growth engine systems. So anyone who's really kind of looking for a starting point, I would say start small. Pick one thing, figure out how to integrate it, you know, focus on breaking down your data silos, train your teams to use the AI. Just and you know what, take a step back from that, train them just to be comfortable with AI, because AI is like probably not going to come and take everybody's jobs in the foreseeable future in the home services industry, right? Like AI is very far away from being able to come to a homeowner's home and physically install a system on a concrete pad outside their house. Like it can do a lot of things, but it certainly cannot do that. So getting people familiar with it, getting them comfortable with it, getting them to look for opportunities to utilize it, even as simple as Ed was talking about, where like, how do we write a professional customer email communicating a proposal, or how do we use it in a way that, you know, I've seen business owners check their pricing and come to like conclusions like, am I priced correctly? Run it through AI. And sometimes it can give you a really good answer. You know, getting familiar with this is going to create a culture of innovation for your brand. And it's going to help you get out ahead at the end of the day. It's going to help you be more competitive. And it's really going to help you find some of those opportunities that maybe you didn't know existed, you know. So
Absolutely.
start small, get everybody comfortable, and then focus on building a culture of innovation within your business, and all this other stuff will fall into place. I guarantee it.
Yeah, awesome, Eddie. I appreciate so much you coming on today, and this has been amazing. I want to thank everyone for taking the time out of your day to join us. And I'll also add on to what you were just saying, Eddie. You guys, you don't need a big budget to use AI. With free tools like ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, you can write emails, build scripts, draft, SOPs. Start trying to get some additional marketing content before you're ready to call Eddie and his team to really take the reins for you. But start there first. And again, just a big thanks for joining us today. We loved having you here, and we look forward to seeing you in the new year as well. Happy holidays to everyone and their family, and until next time, thank you.
Thanks. Merry Christmas, everyone.